2.3 Identify and schedule dynamic updates. So there are a number of different updates that a Palo firewall will be doing depending on the services you acquire from them or the licenses that you have. So here we're kind of just going into the different updates that you can have. There's app updates, threat protection updates, global protect updates. Those are all dynamically updated. Here we can see the different services and the update intervals. So if you have global protect services, you have to create your own schedule to get those updates. That's not automatically going to update on its own. With Wildfire Cloud, it kind of depends on the license you have. They publish updates every 5 minutes. If you have a Wildfire license, you can do their best practice, which over here they claim is 1 minute to check for updates. And if you do not, you only have a like a threat prevention license, then it's only going to check every 24 to 48 hours. URL updates. You can have either a Bright Cloud update or the PAN database update. I think the Bright Cloud's end of life at this point, so I'm not too concerned about that, but it publishes updates daily, whereas the PAN database, it updates sites every 5 to 10 minutes. So they kind of, I'll go into it later, but they kind of try to tie that in with Wildfire. AV signatures, those are published daily. You get that with the threat prevention license. App IDs, new updates will come every month for new applications. Modified applications will happen weekly. And threat prevention, these are going to be published weekly. Now, that being said, I have seen where they will do emergency updates in the middle of the week for some type of new 0-day attack. So beware of that as well. I didn't see it in the documentation here, but it is something that definitely happens. So here they kind of go into the different updates. So antivirus, that's going to happen daily. So that's going to be signatures like command and control signatures, Wildfire signatures. So something that another firewall has seen, it will automatically generate a signature. Palo will propagate that throughout the threat database, and you'll get that signature updated to your firewall. So that's what that's going to do. Here it shows, Wildfire signatures detect malware first seen by firewalls from around the world. That's what they're talking about. You're not actively going to have the Wildfire license with this, so you're not going to start sandboxing signatures or files. So just be aware of that. Applications, those are published monthly for new applications, weekly for modified applications. You don't need a threat prevention license for this. You just need to have a valid maintenance support contract. Applications and threats. This is really kind of combined the applications and threats. So you're not going to get this separate application update. It's going to come as a pair here. For this you need a threat prevention license, and again it's just like the earlier ones. Modified signatures or modified threats and applications weekly. Threats, weekly they're going to do modified updates, and then new signatures monthly. And down here, they talk about how the firewall can receive latest updates within 30 minutes of availability. This is the only thing I can really think of where when they push out an emergency update, you'd want to check it every 30 minutes. So there's apparently some best practices. So I'll need to read up on that and see what they suggest here. Global Protect data file. This is going to be for the hip check. So the Global Protect software that's installed on the end device. Again, you'll need to get a subscription for Global Protect on this, and you will need a new schedule setup. It's not going to automatically update. Same with the clientless VPN down here. I believe this is for the Global Protect portal. same thing. You'll need the Global Protect license, as well as you will need to create your own schedule. And then URL filtering. So this is a little bit confusing to me because they talk about the 6080 categories, but they don't really break down the bright cloud here. So um, this is Palo's database is what it appears to be. They have 60 to 80 different categories. I think they're constantly adding to those. Some are high risk, low risk, specific social networking sites, and you can get updates up to 5 minute increments if it detects a different version of the URL database. So you have that. You would need a URL license to utilize that to its fullest potential. So here they kind of go into the difference between the Bright Cloud URL filtering. It says Bright Cloud was end of sale back in 2018 and end of support in 2021. So I don't expect a whole lot of questions on this, but it is a thing. Up here, they're talking more about the URL filtering, and how you can check every 5 to 10 minutes, and if a new version's detected, it will update it. And they also talk about how they try to tie that into Wildfire with the signatures. So if you see a bunch of bad stuff coming to one specific URL, maybe Wildfire sees this IP address and a bunch of malware coming from it, you can dynamically update the URL, or Palo will, that is, to be a high risk or a malware categorized URL. So by default, hopefully you would be blocking malware and it would automatically trigger that. So you wouldn't even need to introduce the file into the network. You just block it at that URL lookup. Wildfire is going to sandbox any files you have. You can do it on-prem or privately. Down here, they talk about how they do have Wildfire appliances. So if for some reason you can't upload questionable files to their cloud, you can do this on site. And this is going to if you have a Wildfire license, it will sandbox the file. It will do an analysis and come back with a result. If you do not, you will just get the signatures every 24 to 48 hours. If you do have the Wildfire license, they recommend checking for updates every minute. They publish every 5 minutes. And here they're kind of just going into the updates, the dynamic updates, how you can install new ones, revert back to old ones. If you have a parent HA on the dashboard by default, I believe it'll tell you if your databases are synchronized or if they're different versions. You can install these either from have Panorama push it out. You can install it manually from a desktop. It just kind of depends. If your firewall can't access the internet for some reason, you might need to use a Panorama appliance to push those updates. And then down here on the software updates, this is where you're actually updating the code. So there's 3 things they suggest before upgrading the code. That's to obviously review the release notes, make sure there's nothing that's going to cause an impact to your services. Making sure the firewall is connected to a reliable power source. So this is, if you have a beefy firewall that has 2 power supplies, make sure they're both up. Make sure, there's no thunderstorms going on at the moment that could take the power down. And then to finally to create a backup externally, just in case something happens during the upgrade process, the firewall bricks or something like that, you want to be able to recover that device. So if you're going between major versions, for instance, you're going from 8.0 to 8.15, you're going to have to upgrade to 8.1.0 first. So that's going to have that base 8.1 code. And then you'll have to reboot the firewall, install that 8.0 code. Then you'll have to install the 8.1.5 code. So again, if you're going from, let's say, 8.0.3 to 8.1.5, you're going to go from 8.0.3, you're going to upgrade to 8.1.0, reboot, and then you can upgrade to 8.1.5. Same thing, you can upload these from a, you can download them from the internet, you can upload them from a desktop computer, however you want. And we'll just do a couple of these. So shortest time interval, you can configure Palo to check for updates. It's definitely 1 minute. As a publishing interval, they publish every 5 minutes. Palo automatically creates a backup, true or false. That is definitely true. If you have threat prevention but not a wildfire subscription, how long must you wait to detect for the signatures to be added into the antivirus update? You're looking at 24 to 48 hours. And which of these actions should you complete before you upgrade it to a newer version? That will be reviewing the release notes, making sure the firewall is connected to a reliable power source. There's no maintenance mode, so we can remove that. You definitely want to store a backup before you upgrade, but they also talk about exporting the device state, which I would kind of think may go along with that. But since this is a little more specific, I'm going to save this guy right here. All right, thanks a lot, and I'll see you in 2.4.